say by a Dutch programmer. His name is Guido van Rossum, and it was developed back in what's in 1991 only, or 1989. It was initially developed, and now, as you know, what's a Python is one of the leading languages in multiple areas. So, if you are into programming, and if you learned what's a Java or C or C++, you are restricted to work only on some projects, and that programming knowledge might help you out, and that programming skill might help you what's say perform some activities within what's say within some uh, within some particular areas of areas only. But coming to Python is a general purpose high level programming language. My screen is not visible to everyone. Friends, my screen is visible. I just shared a browser.
I can see.
Yeah, yeah.
Visible, sir.
Yeah, well, friends, so Python is a language which you won't regret for learning. Not today, maybe tomorrow. Not tomorrow, maybe the day after tomorrow. Not this year, maybe the next year. At some point of time, you definitely find, you learning Python definitely helping you a lot in the future, right? Because it's a language, even though it's an older language, it was developed, back in 1980s only. And the initial release of Python was made in what's in 1990s. It's an old language, a very old language. But what happened? Python was ignored initially because of what's say people were very much fascinated by object-oriented programming and Java. When Java evolved in 1995, Java took the entire market, and people are back over Java. Even today, Java, you find a leading leading programming language for performing or for creating multiple applications, mobile applications, right? Likewise, web applications and software development, operating systems development. You find Java has its a tremendous, what's a incredible mark in all these different areas. But later, what happened? The problem with Java is it's ambiguous. The coding part, everything is ambiguous, and people started for looking for simpler solutions, and that is where Python as a programming language, it it began. People started adapting Python because Python is way much flexible, and with Python you can do any sort of development, like developing web applications, desktop applications, softwares. Like say if you want to do some web scraping, server level programming, right? So in web programming, in all these different areas, Python was proven to give its absolute best. Java was restricted for some, for some projects because of its ambiguous nature, whereas Python, in those areas, Python was able to freely fit into. So friends, Python is a language, as said before, it's a language, it's an old language, developed for some educational purpose by, Guido van Rossum. It's not meant for, actually for, what's say, application development or software programming. But later, what happened, since people understood and people adapted Python and people understood the potential of Python, what happened, organizations started embracing Python at a very high level. In the current day scenario, if we talk about the current day scenario, we find Python used everywhere, in every trade, in every research, in every what's the software organizations and multinational corporations. You find they using Python in some of their projects. Okay, Facebook uses Python, likewise Netflix. All multinational corporations, they use Python somewhere in their in their what we call in their projects. Out of the first 10 programming languages, you definitely find a language to learn. Definitely out of the first 10 or the first five, you find Python listed. See, the what's it, top 10 programming languages to learn in 2023. Top 10 programming languages to learn, let's say. You find, some languages that are static or that are evergreen. Let's find whether Python is listed or not. See, friends, in the second, item, the second item itself is Python. Top 20 languages to learn, but the very second language is Python. Likewise, if you go back, let's say if this is biased result from Simply Learn website, let's go and search for some other, some other site like this. And programming languages. See here. See, friends, over here, you find that this is some another site where they are listing Python as the #1 language to learn. Likewise, any other result, any random result you take it, in any of the in every results you find, top 10 languages to learn, you definitely find Python listed as one of the programming language. JavaScript, of course, the god language of internet, okay, the language of the internet. Of course, definitely for web developers, they understand the importance of JavaScript. But definitely, you find Python as a programming language. As the most important one to consider and learn. Why is that? Why there is a huge demand to Python? Means because of its nature, because of Python's nature. Python is simple. Python programming is simple. In Java, if I want to write a simple program to print hello world, I got to write a program. It goes this way: public class, let's say example, and open curly brace, public static void main and string array of args, something like this. And again, open curly brace, and here system.out.println and hello world, something like this, semicolon, close and close. This is how a program appears in Java to just print hello world. Likewise, C language or C++. Again, in C language, hash include stdio.h, and followed by that void main, and next open curly brace, and here printf and hello world, again semicolon for every statement, followed by that again close curly brace, maybe something here clr scr clear screen, and something like this. This is the structure of a C program, right? So you have to add the syntax as is. You got to add syntaxes like the curly braces open, curly braces closed, a semicolon, likewise brackets, square brackets, everything you have to type as is. But coming to Python, the same hello world. If you want to print it, what you do, just say print hello world, and that is it. It's done. Done. Your program is over. Print hello world, and you run it, and you get the result print hello world. Whatever you're doing with Java, whatever you're doing with C language, the same you're doing with Python, just in one single line. Meaning, Python is quite simple, friends. It's not that complicated programming language. It's very easy to learn and simple. Okay, anyone can easily adapt Python. Next, Python is flexible. What does that mean? Flexible meaning, let's say you are a Java developer, you are from Java background, or your C language, developer in C or C++. Now you want to adapt to Python. No problem. What happens? Python offers you any sort of modularity, meaning if you are from Java background, you can perform Java related activities with Python, or the programming style of you writing programs. You can write in the format of Java, in format of Java, like with C++. Python is flexible, and it can easily adapt to any of the programming language type. Okay, anyone from some other programming background can easily adapt to Python. So Python is flexible. Next, Python is object-oriented. Object-oriented languages like Java, C++, Java and C++, you can get the same functionality assigned with Python. Python is functional. If you are writing programs in functional, if you are familiar with functional programming like a C language, yes, you can go with a Python and adapt functional features. Python is modular programming languages like what's the Lotus and Fortran. Yes, you can achieve that modularity with Python because Python supports in any of these. Right. Next, what else? Python is for multiple project types like web scraping, as I said before. Python is for what say Python acts as a server-side language. Python acts as a scripting language. Python acts as a programming language. Python acts as a language for developing some applications and so on. It is meant for everything. It's like a cocktail that meets every developer requirement. Okay, simple, object-oriented, flexible, portable, meaning installing Python, you don't need to install more and more and more packages. It's pretty portable, a simple application. Just download it, double click it, install it, and that's it. It's pretty easy, portable. Next, Python programming is what say platform independent, meaning the program that you write on a Windows machine, the same program if you run on what say Linux machine or Mac OS, everywhere Python programs do run the same, platform independent. Right? Python is a high-level programming language, meaning uh, what say the instructions or the Python code, whatever we write, everything is written in plain English like Java and C and C++. So in languages where we write, the coding in a plain English format, that those languages we term them as high-level programming languages. Okay, so Python is high level, and there is a huge community support since Python is open source. Open source, we discussed it several times in our DevOps journey, open source meaning the tools you can easily adapt, you can use them for free, and open source tools are free as well as what else? Open source tools you can change them according to your business requirement. So there are different flavors of Python developed by different communities as well as corporations like IBM. They have their own Python version. Likewise, we got Python for Java, Jython, Iron Python. So there are different flavors of Python available too. Because of its open source nature, organizations did create different flavors of Python. And yeah, yeah, it has a lot of community support, meaning different users across the globe who are active contributors of Python. They have written a lot of libraries and packages to Python. So why we are learning Python in our DevOps journey means because of this reason, friends. There are a lot of libraries and packages already written in Python for Java, for DevOps tools. For DevOps tools to automate things, there are already a lot of libraries and packages available in Python to automate DevOps. So do machine learning, data science, big data, data analytics. So the community of Python is very aggressive, and they keep on adding more and more and more stuff related to Python in their in the official sites of Python. So you can easily adapt that the functionalities developed by others and get going on with. Now let's say Chaudhary, he developed some Python library. Okay, let's say he's a machine learning expert. He developed a Python library. Now what happens? I'm into machine learning, and I'm not able to get some result. But Chaudhary, he developed a result or a solution, and he made it available to me or to everyone in Python community. Now what I do, I just look into that community site and inherit Chaudhary's module in my program and get my job done. Right? Likewise, let's say Mahesh, he did develop some Python modules for Jenkins. Now, what do I do? When I'm working on Jenkins and I want to automate Jenkins activities, instead of me again writing Python shell scripts from scratch and getting the functionality created, instead what I do is I'll go with adapting I'll go with adapting Python modules which are written by Mahesh in my project. So friends, why we are learning Python if you want to get the answer? See, there are a lot of libraries available. Let's say PyPy. This is a library. It is a package that is for what's say automating activities on on some tools like Jenkins. Likewise, we got docker.py. Docker.py. This is again a site where sorry, docker.py. We got to search google.com. Let's search for yeah, docker.py. It's a Python library for Docker. To automate Docker activities, you got docker-py. Sorry, not docker dot, it's docker-py. Yeah, friends, likewise, for what say, for oh, Hari Prasad, how did he miss the class? Oh, oops. Just a second, friends. Yeah, so Docker Python. Likewise, Ansible Python. Ansible is a tool that is written completely in Python. So to automate Ansible activities again, we have a Python API, some plugin available with which we can automate Ansible activities again with Python scripting. So now some of you, if you got a question like, sir, we learned shell scripting. Shell scripting is not sufficient. Should we learn again Python? Means, friends, again, a quick answer here is for our own good. Now, let's say to automate Ansible with shell script, let's say if you got to write 100 program shell script to automate, whereas in Python, already some plugin and some packages are already written to automate Ansible with Python script. Don't you think instead of wasting time putting effort into writing some 100-line shell program and then doing things, instead of that, why not rely on Python so that we are saving our time and since the communities they test what's say continuously and when they ensure that there are no bugs identified, then they are releasing that library into Python what's the package management. So since uh, what's the modules that we are extracting from Python, since they are tested and everything is working fine, once ensured, then only they are making it available. Why not rely on Python for our automation activities? Why again we doing things on a shell script? Yeah, for that reason too, we are learning Python. Yeah, friends, so that's all a quick intro about Python and quick what say yeah, that's all about Python. A quick intro, and now let's jump in, understand what are the different aspects in Python and how to get started off with Python, how to write your Python script or very first script, and so on, how to set up your lab environment, everything. And friends, as a personal, uh, suggestion, I would like to suggest you make sure that you spend at least some 10 minutes of time every day to learn Python. It's a very easy language, a very simple programming language. At least 10 minutes a day to learn Python. If you spend, what happens is you won't regret at all in learning Python. You won't regret at all. Trust me, you will never regret for learning Python. Back in the past, when I was, when I was into big data and the time when I'm transitioning to DevOps, what happened? Some guy, he told me that Java is a dying language. Java is dying, and Java, there will be no demand to Java at all in the future. This was told to me back in 2015 at that time. I was very much interested to learn Java, but some guy misleaded me saying that Java is a dying language. Now, in the future, Scala programming, other programming languages, XYZ, they're going to rule the market. That is what he emphasized more. And I did believe him blindly. And there I took a U-turn and started focusing more on DevOps activities and so. But now coming to DevOps projects, Now, majority of the DevOps projects that that I'm currently working on, I find they're all Java-based projects. They're all Java-based projects, and I regret every time that, why didn't I put some effort to learn Java, to understand Java? Because, see, friends, even though there is a huge demand to, or there are advanced programming languages other than Java, still developers like the interface of Java, and even now there is a huge demand to Java, right? Applications, majority of the applications which are maintained by which are created by Accenture, Deloitte, right? Multinational corporations, you find Java still leading. And Python here, friends, Python lacks its prominence only in one area. What is that? In mobile industry, in mobile applications only, Python is not up to the mark. Rest of every field you find Python ruling the world. Okay, except mobile applications. Mobile applications are majorly developed, based on compiled languages like Java and C, C++. Objective C for iOS, Android, oh, sorry, iPhones, and mostly Android phones. You find APKs created out of Java programming. Now you know that there is more flexibility, and there is more demand to mobile applications, and mobiles are competing with web or desktop applications. And if we observe, majority of the organizations, or sorry, anywhere you go, mostly what say the activities are happening through mobile applications when compared to web applications or desktop applications. If we go to a restaurant, what's happening there? The waiter, he takes an order. He's taking the order in a mobile application. If you go to a hospital, yeah, to book an appointment and to get your capture your details again, what's happening? They're using mobile applications, or what's say they're using tablets and collecting all the information and getting the things done. Transactions, millions of transactions happening through phone pay, Google Pay, Paytm, etc. Again, mobile applications. So, since mobile applications, in a mobile application development, since Java is pretty much prominent, now what say I regret every time for not learning Java, for not putting effort in understanding Java programming. But but friends, trust me, coming to Python, you will never regret that you learned Python. Why is that? Python is used by multiple, talented professionals. DevOps engineers use Python to automate their day-to-day activities, to automate, their activities with some tools. Likewise, we got big data analysts, big data engineers, data analysts, data scientists, data scientists, and so on. In what say scientific researches, everywhere you find Python, giving its absolute best. Even though it's an interpreted language, Python is always considered, and Python is, still the unbeatable, what's a programming language. Only the area where Python lacks its prominence is within mobile applications. Rest of everywhere you find Python the best. Okay. Yeah, questions here? Someone raising some question? Yeah, friend, someone got a question? Okay, fine. So now, enough with this basic intro. Now let's understand how to install Python and how to get started off with Python. So friends, this week we have sessions on Python. Again, the next week too, we got some sessions and we do some examples. And for people for whom what's it, Docker is completed, for them I'll show you some activities the next week, how to automate some of the activities with Python. Yeah. So to install Python, what to do? Again, one more quick thing to understand, friends. When Python was initially released, what happened is it was released as Python version 1, later Python version 2, and Python version 3. Python version 1, 2, and 3. Now, when it came to Python 2 and Python 3, there's an interesting, interesting approach that took for a long time. Some developers supported Python 2 and they started developing their own version of Python, like Python 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, and so on. Some communities, they supported, they opted to Python 3 and they kept developing Python version 3 this way, Python 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, and so on. And this continued, meaning Python was maintained as two different versions, and this continued for a long time. Application developments happening on Python 2 as well as applications developments happening on Python 3. Of course, there are no much differences, but some slight differences between 2 and 3. But still, this rivalry continued for a long time. Some major applications are written in Python 2 as well as in Python 3. Applications, modules are written in Python 2 as well as Python 3. Libraries are written for Python 2 as well as Python 3. So this way, Python was, what we call, it happened, it went for a long time. The demand went for a long time. And later what happened is the international community, Python community, they decided that there should be only one version of Python. Not Python 2, not Python 3, or no more Python 2 and 3, this confusion. There should be only one Python version. This is what the international community, they understood and raised a concern. And now what's happening, friends? We got only one version of Python, which is nothing but Python 3. Currently, since 2020 or 21, what happened? The community, international community said there should be only one Python version. Now we have Python 3 as the standard version. All the softwares that are written in Python 2 got migrated to Python 3. Okay, no more Python 2 and Python 3, no more such differentiation. All the softwares written in 2 are updated into Python 3. Yeah, friends. So this is one more thing we got to remember. Now coming to development, let's say application development. What do you think, friends? How developers write code? Anyone from development background? How do you write code? Do you write code directly by opening some notepad application and start of writing things, or you follow some approach like you go through some IDE, integrated development environments, and write code? Yeah, friends, what do you think? Anyone from development background here? Yeah, friends, anyone from development background? How do developers write code? Do they write code opening some notepad as a tool, and in notepad they write code, or they write code in some application like Visual Studio Code or maybe Eclipse or Atom text editor? Yeah, what do you think? So developers write code in an integrated development environment, not directly in a notepad or notepad plus plus. Why is that? Means it's very likely to forget the syntax. It's very likely to forget the attributes in a programming language. So to avoid such confusions, what organizations do is organizations, or individuals whoever develops code in programming languages, they write their code in some, what's a programming language specific IDE, integrated development environment. So now for Python, we got IDE with multiple IDEs available, and the IDE we are going to learn is what say Jupyter nodes. Jupyter nodes. I'm not going to show you how to install Python and then get started off for practicing Python. I want to show you a very smart approach of writing and getting started with your Python what's it, learning process. There is something called a Jupyter Notes, an online Python what's a notebook available. You can get started off writing Python programs directly from within your browser. How? Let's find out. Jupyter Notes, Jupyter notebook. Just do a search. And here, the very first link, Jupyter notebook, try Jupyter. Just click on this try Jupyter and taken to this page. And here, use our tools without installing anything. We are not installing any Python. Instead, what we do, we just go click Jupyter notebook. And now, see friends, some page opened this way, and all I got to do is here in this site, all we do is just jump to the file section and say new notebook. In a new tab, a notebook gets assigned to you, and you're good to write your code. In this box here, in this cell here, whatever the box is present, in this cell, you start to write your Python code. Now, let's say a quick way to write or print something in Python is print hello world. In other programming languages, what we do is just before I did show you that you got to write some 7-line program or some 5-line program to print hello world. Again, in shell scripting, also things are simple. In shell scripting, if I want to print something, what is the approach, friends? What do I do? What do we do in shell scripting? Come on, guys, what happened today? In shell scripting, if I want to print hello world, what we do? Echo world, and that's it. Hello world gets printed. But in Python, we got a print command. Okay, so all you have to do is just type print hello world and see, friends. Now from this site, how to get a result? Print hello world, and what you do? Just hit Alt Enter. Just Alt and Enter, and that is it. This is your code, and down below is your result. Meaning your code is interpreted, and you're getting the result back onto the screen. So it's that simple, friends. Jupyter Notebook. You don't need to install anything, any Python program or any Python application on your Windows machine, on your laptops. Nothing to install. Through the web interface, you jump to Python, Jupyter Lab, Jupyter Notebook, and get started up doing things directly online. Print hello world and hello world got printed. Likewise, now let's say here print, and I'm going with welcome to Python sessions. Alt enter, and again, what happened? Welcome to Python sessions. One more line got printed here. Okay. And let's say I want to add some more statements. Print and happy to have you. Happy to have you all in the session, and again close, enter, not enter, alt enter or control enter. You're getting the result for that block. Hello world, welcome to Python sessions. Happy to have you all in the session. Yeah, friends, it's that simple to get started off with Python, and we're good now to write our Python programs and get our get our practice done. If we understand the basics of Python, what happens is later on, once we get into actual DevOps examples, then things will make sense to us. So how to create variables in Python, and how to perform some operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulus, etc. See, friends, in Python, to create variables, just type this way: name is equal to Prashant, but name should be enclosed within double quotes, and yeah, course is equal to, let's say, DevOps. So this is how you define your variables. Variables here are defined as strings, and string data should always be enclosed within double quotes. Okay. And what if I want to add, create numbers? Nothing. Let's say num1 is equal to 10 and num2 is equal to 20, meaning the values are not enclosing within double quotes. Just simply you're saying name num is equal to 1 and num2 is equal to 20. Num is equal to 10, num2 is equal to 20. So string variables, you can define them directly without mentioning any data type and within double quotes. And coming to text to, what you do is just add the content, and you're not enclosing them within double quotes. Okay. So friends, this is what creating variables, and there are different types of variables available in Python: strings, numericals, or integers. Next, we got list item. Let's say list of regions. is equal to, and if I go with here, AP hyphen south hyphen 1, next US hyphen east hyphen 1, next EU hyphen west hyphen 1. What are these? These are some of AWS regions, and I added a list of regions. List of regions is equal to AP South 1, US East 1, and US East, US West 1. Now to print list items, we got to go with what's it? We got to go with choosing list item like list of items, list of regions of 1. Then what happens? We get US East 1 printed. List of regions of 2, EU West 1 gets printed. List of regions of 0, what happens? We get AP South 1 printed. So we'll explore this in detail in the coming sessions. But this is how, friends, you got to get started off with Python just by writing your what's it? Just by writing your script, meaning just by writing your code directly in this Jupyter lab. Yeah. So let's now dive in and understand how to write comments in Python. So comments in Python are written this way: add a pound sign, hello world, welcome to Python classes. And if I just hit enter, alt enter, what's happening? Nothing is executed here because whatever the content we type now is treated as what's it? Multi-line, treated as comment, single line comment. Any line in Python that is preceded with the pound sign, that is treated as a comment. The same is applicable in shell scripting too, right? In shell scripting too, we find comments, we're adding the same. Now coming to multi-line comment, how to add a multi-line comment? To add a multi-line comment, Python has something different, some different arrangement. Let's say here, 3 single quotes. Hello there, welcome to Python and shell scripting classes, something like this. And now here, let's say print. The above lines are not printed. Just have a look, friends. Alt enter. Oh, sorry, I have closed it. See what's happening now. You're getting only this print statement, but not the above lines, because the above lines, whatever you enclosed within 3 quotes, single quotes, and 3 single quotes again at the end, those are treated as
Our voice in
మహేష్ క్లాస్ అయిపోయిందా?
లేదు ఇంకా.
Hello. Hello, sir.